after over a year of social distancing, the norms of politeness and affection have been turned on their head. So does this mean the end of handshakes and hugs forever? Not hugs.
But for the sake of everybody's good health, is it time to ban handshakes and hugs? That's what we've been asking you this morning. And to debate this, joining us now is author of The Handshake, A Gripping History, Ella Ashamahi, and comedian Stephen Bailey, who says he's done with awkward handshakes and the disgusting germs people carry around. You've had enough of it. You're quite happy, are you, to dispense with a handshake, Stephen, and dispense with a hug?
Really am, Kate, to be honest with you. I was happy when they brought the rule in. I could have done with this rule a few years ago. I think it's so awkward. It's like, the anxiety in normal life being like, is this a handshaker? Is this a hugger? I get very anxious when you've got to figure out what the other person wants. So I'm happy that we get to stay away from each other.
Oh, wow, OK. I mean, Ella, you've written a book, A Gripping History of Handshakes. I mean, has it survived these kind of scenarios before and pandemics in the past? I mean, clearly it has. I mean, how do we get through this?
Yeah, well, so first of all, this isn't the first time a handshake, a pandemic or an epidemic has led to the demise of a handshake. There's so many examples from the Spanish flu, where in Prescott, Arizona, they actually made it illegal to shake hands. In Baku, Azerbaijan, there was a cholera outbreak at the end of the 1800s, and they formed an anti-handshake society, which, Stephen, you should maybe consider. You wear like
I'm signing up, Ella. I'm signing up.
But I respect what you're saying, Stephen, but if you don't want to be touched, I get it. But I am suffering from what a lot of people are suffering from during the pandemic, which is skin hunger. So it basically means I'm not getting touched as much as I need to be touched. I think there's probably an epidemic of skin hunger right now, kind of people really feeling the need to be touched. I genuinely fear that when we're allowed to start shaking hands again, when it's safe to start shaking hands again, I'm just going to be holding people's hands as opposed to like just shaking. It just won't let go.
Never let
so I'm for the handshake.
What is the purpose of a hug and a handshake then? We all know we've missed it. Is it something to do with just a cultural thing, that we're used to it being a friendly gesture, or is it something more, do you think, from your research?
Kate, this is the absolutely fascinating thing. It turns out that the handshake, in my opinion, I argue in the book that it's at least 7 million years old, because chimps also shake hands and bonobos shake hands. So it seems to be something in our evolutionary history. And if you think about it, we are animals. So actually, we think we communicate with each other via language and poetry and all the rest of it. But actually, it turns out we also communicate with each other via smell and chemical signals. So when we shake hands, there's all this crazy research to show that actually we subconsciously are more likely to sniff our hands. We're taking a good whiff of the other person when we shake hands. They only discovered this using hidden cameras and all this fascinating research to show that this is going on. And as I said, it's not weird. If you think about it, we are animals. We didn't evolve our way out of being animals. And so those handshakes, which we think of as like, bastion of politeness and proper society, we're actually just also having a really good sniff of each other.
Are you saying that we sniff our hands after shaking? Are we doing that without realising? Oh,
Yes. Completely unconscious. It was the Weizmann Institute. They basically only observed this because they were using hidden cameras, and they were investigating chemical signals generally, because chemical signals so, for example, they put these gauze under people's armpits. They got them to watch happy films or scary films. And then they took that gauze to a different group of people, and the people were accurately reflecting that emotion on their faces. So chemical is really important for human communication. And so you can imagine a hug where you're actually completely next to the person is really useful for that.
I am putting on more aftershave next time I'm out.
So, you always smell gorgeous. So, Stephen, is it the awkwardness of not knowing what to do and not wanting to offend someone by shaking hands they don't want to or hugging when they don't want to, pre-pandemic? Or is it something more for you? Because I imagine there are some people you want to hug and shake hands with, aren't there?
Well, I like hugging my mum and my little nephew, but actually it is the awkwardness. And now Ella's brought up that people smell you. I'm really not into it at all, ever again. And I will just say the other thing is, like, I know how important a handshake can be, and I have a really limp wrist, so that's not going to get me any jobs. And when it came in the 2-meter rule where people had to keep their distance, that was so great, because every time my boyfriend tried to be an animal, I was like, okay, you have to stay back, Boris said.
So what do you do instead? What's your alternative?
Oh, so I've replaced an awkward hug and an awkward handshake with an awkward wave, just like a, hey, Kate, hey, girl.
Okay.
Look like you're on a game show. Say your name there.
Yeah.
That's it. Get to Ben Shephard, Kate Garraway.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Dr. Hilary is here now. I mean, it's very interesting to know the science behind it and why handshakes have evolved as a gesture and why hugging is needed for that social interaction. But you still feel that we're not ready to do it, don't you?
Well, we're in a pandemic, so it's not a great idea, especially the kiss on either cheek. The French style. I mean, that's just asking for trouble, isn't it? Some people, as Stephen says, do find it awkward. You go left or right first, and then you go somewhere in the middle, and that's really awkward. But it's just like breathing into somebody's mouth doing that. So in terms of the pandemic, we shouldn't be doing it, and that is the official advice. But
So
just
ban
like to say,
altogether, or go, or
not ban it. Just discourage it.
Just wait.
Absolutely wait.
Okay.
But for all our viewers who'd like one, I'm giving you a virtual hug right.
Ah.
There was a kind of wink with that as well, actually. I mean, the wink was
What's wrong with
not
that?
necessary.
That's safe. That's totally safe.
What do you do, Charlotte?
Don't analyse it too much.
Well, what do you do, Charlotte? You were telling us earlier. What do you... When you...
So I get in early and I do the whole virtual hug, but I also do them from afar, like, you know, sending you lots of love.
Right.
So I do end up doing lots of random...
That's just
I think people get the message.
That's just with the Uber drivers. Anybody who's actually...
And we asked you on Twitter what you thought. Is it time to ban handshakes and hugs? 90% said yes, but 81% wanted to hang on to those hugs and handshakes. So, you know, you're the winner here, aren't you?
Remember the 2-meter rule?
Oh, they've gone. They've gone. They've gone.
Oh, there they
it's
are.
still there. So your love of handshakes and hugs is winning out with our viewers.
I'll just feel awkward now.
Well, you know, it is interesting because they are, I agree completely with Dr. Hilary that they do pass on germs and we definitely shouldn't be doing them right now. And I mean, some of the statistics are really gross on them. Like globally, only 19% of people actually wash their hands after number 2.
Oh!
But
This is why I don't want to touch people.
Ella, I think we might have just flipped the statistics the other way round with that sentence. Everybody's going to be voting the other way.
Crikey almighty.
It's good. Good to talk to both of you, though.
I'm not going to shake anybody's hand ever again in my life.
19%.
90, what did... Yeah.